hear that?
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey kids, welcome to Grumpy Nostalgia, the Second Look Cinema podcast, the show where we go back to the blockbuster new release wall of our memory, grab a copy off the shelf, pop in the VCR, and see what time has done to it. I'm Justin, that's Mike.
Yes, hi.
And together we're here to help you navigate all the landmines littered down memory lane. So Mike, I like that affirmation that you're part of the podcast. That's good.
Oh yeah, well, you know what? I was having trouble. My eggnog was getting a little too close to my sugar plums.
Hence the witty retort.
There you go.
All right, so it's getting to that time of year, as we all know. It's at the time of recording. It's getting close to Christmas, and I don't know about you, Mike, but I've already started to get mailing in at my job. I've got a nice little Christmas break right around the corner. It's getting really hard for me to focus. Yeah, so I was thinking about, the title of the show is Grumpy Nostalgia, and we've kind of presented ourselves as these kind of aging Gen Xers that are too snarky for their own good, and we tend to dislike a lot of stuff, and even the things we do like we find fault with. And it's Christmas time, and I'm thinking, I've seen Ebenezer Scrooge's Tale enough to know that the ghost of movies present might take over for us here at some point. So I was thinking, last year our Christmas podcast episode was more, let's say, critical, right? We talked about our favorite Christmas turkeys.
Oh yeah, gobble gobble,
yeah, gobble gobble. But we want to present ourselves as more complex, more layered, right? The tapestry that we are is much more woven than one would think. So that we're going to try to present ourselves in a different light. So, given the fact that last week we kind of covered a sort of Christmas movie, depending on who you ask, with Die Hard. We thought we'd just go full bore this week and then talk about something that's kind of hard to make fun of, even for grumpy Gen Xers. And we're going to talk about Elf from 2003.
Oh my God! I know him! I know him!
Justin, according to a clickbait article I just saw today,
tell.
I was going to say, Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and the argument has been settled.
I got a lot of fan feedback on our Instagram channel.
Really?
Stating the very same. A lot of people were very adamant about it. Very few people were in the negative on that one. So
okay, that's interesting. Wow,
we
didn't change hearts or minds with that.
No, we rattled a few cages. So
okay.
Speaking of that turkey episode, we encourage everybody to go back and listen to it because nobody did the first time. But that's the episode. That's season 2.
It's picked up some steam. I saw the raw data on it.
Okay.
We've gotten a few more people that come to the realization that must be a good one.
All right. Well, that was season 2, episode 14, released on November 15th. Go back and check it out and see how far we've come. So this is 2000.
I got 2 words for you: Touchstone Pictures.
There you go. So this is 2003, so it's slightly out of our purview, but it's 20 years old. And I guess if this movie was a car, it would be an antique or a classic, right, Mike? So 20 years ago, yeah.
Wow.
So let's just kind of jump in. So this was released on November 7th, 2003, and was directed by Jon Favreau, who most people know as Tony Stark's limo driver at this point.
Happy.
Yeah. This was his second film he directed. The first one was the movie Made, which we talked about a long time ago. This was the MTV Movie Award nominated for Best Cameo with Screech. So if that's his only claim to fame, that movie was real great. He's gone on to do a lot of the new Disney Star Wars stuff, and he did the Lion King, the live-action Lion King, and he's kind of a big deal now. Not so much at the time. It was written by a guy.
It's hard to believe him and like Vince Vaughn were peers at one time.
Yeah,
doing a couple movies together.
Great movie Swingers. We'll have to certainly include in our portfolio at some point. This was written by a guy named David Barenbaum. This was his first screenplay. He also wrote the movie Haunted Mansion. Not the horrible remake recently released Haunted Mansion. I'm talking about the horrible original one from 2003 as well with Eddie Murphy that nobody liked. But But
it had Terrence Stamp in it, though.
It did. All right. Well, yeah, that's good enough, I guess. But he originally wrote this in 1993, and it was originally intended to be a Chris Farley vehicle. So that I don't know how I feel about that.
That's wild.
Chris Farley had a subtle, nuanced approach to acting. I'm sure he could have pulled this off, but there you go. Anyway, it had a $33 million budget and was released in the busy holiday season there. So, Mike, why don't you kind of walk us through the cast, and we can kind of go to the next step.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's amazing you said that thing about Chris Farley. He would have been, good for the part, but it's almost too much physical comedy. Would have, kind of hurt. I think now that you just thinking about it. Wow.
Yeah, I want to talk about Ferrel's portrayal here because I think it's a little more complex and deeper than people want to give it credit for. But we'll get to that here in a little bit.
Oh yeah, for me, it's his most iconic role. I was trying to think of something that he's more known for, and for me at least, this is the first movie I think of with him.
Yeah.
He's kind of an acquired taste, especially if you watch something like Holmes and Watson, or but yeah, I kind of like when he's at little smaller doses, like maybe Zoolander comes to mind, or even, I don't know, just there's sometimes he just is a little bit grating.
Yeah.
But he plays our iconic Buddy the Elf, and like I say, the casting, I can't imagine anybody. It's one of those I can't imagine anybody else but him, because it's just the annoying innocence of a child is so captured in his character.
I painted a picture of a butterfly.
Yep.
And he has a adopted father in this movie, played by Bob Newhart, who I love when movies can kind of, I don't know, it's not really, I guess it's not anything new, but whenever you bring a TV show guy into a movie kind of universe,
it's to a new audience, so to speak. Yeah,
it's really cool to see like that. It's kind of like it's like seeing John Saxon in Nightmare on Elm Street. It's like, oh yeah, I'm glad he's in there. But anyway,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean most people watching this don't know Bob Newhart from his very cleverly named shows, The Bob Newhart Show and Newhart.
Where do they come up with this stuff?
I don't know. Both were CBS staples, one from the 70s and early 80s, and one from the 80s and early 90s. And he's known for his deadpan Chicago humor, and still alive today too, so that's good. Genius. Yeah. And then his Buddy's real father in the movie is played by James Caan, who again, it's you love seeing somebody that's like known for serious roles playing a comedic role in a way. He's kind of the straight man, and he's the curmudgeon publisher in the movie where he's on the naughty list, which is
he's the Scrooge.
He's the Scrooge of the movie. James Caan recently passed away, rest in peace. But known for being Sonny Corleone, and don't go to the toll booth there, Sonny. Then you have
look at the mask with my boy.
His wife in this movie is played by Mary Steenburgen, who she has the I guess it's the notable two-husband combination of Malcolm McDowell and Ted Danson. So
yeah, she wrestled Ted Danson away from Whoopi Goldberg.
That's right. Yeah, but just those two gentlemen, I can't imagine the contrast of being
probably a very patient woman, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and a good actress.
Very good. Yeah.
You've ever seen the movie Time After Time? It's good role.
Yeah.
Ed Asner appears in this movie, another TV actor. He's plays Santa Claus in this, and hey, pretty good casting,
Role he was born to play.
Exactly. Again, Ed Asner. You think you don't curmudgeon. You think, wow, he's not Santa, right? Well, yeah, he is. Does it pretty well. You have the girl who ends up being Buddy's friend in the movie, Zoey Deschanel. I guess I pronounced that right.
That's right. You got it. Yeah.
I know her sister, and I think this one is known for being in some show called New Girl, or I think it was on Fox a while back. And
yeah.
The Happening. I remember her from that.
Ooh,
yeah. Sadly enough, and she's labeled as a singer, I think too. I think.
Yeah, she's got a real career. Yeah.
Okay. All right. She's not just an actress.
Yeah.
He's not just a pretty face. Peter Dinklage appears in this movie as a
Yeah.
a client of James Caan, but,
Yeah.
Tyrion himself. Peter Billingsley, another Peter. He's the you remember him as a kid from Christmas Story, and he appears in this as a kind of a middle manager elf guy.
Uh-huh.
Interesting to see him again. Then you have like just a lot of random people, but Leon Redbone appears as Leon the Snowman. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Leon is an anagram of Noel, Mike, just to catch that.
Thank you for that. And there's your cast.
That's a good job. Thank you, Mike. Just a couple of notes on that cast. We mentioned Chris Farley was in the running in the early 90s for this, but was kind of pushed off. When they actually got the filming started, they were casting Jim Carrey, and he got very close to getting this role, but they couldn't make that happen. Comedian Gary Shandling was up for the role that James Caan played. I think he would have been very good in that role as well. I could see that. The studio wanted Katie Holmes instead of Zoey Deschanel. She was kind of at the all the rage at that point. Jonathan Rhys Davies and Steve Buscemi were up for the Papa Elf role that Newhart had. I could see Buscemi in there.
I could, yeah.
Yeah. This one here, Brendan Fraser was up for the role of Miles Finch.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know if that was a tippy toe situation, Mike. Because the point of that character is he's a little person. I don't know how they would pull that off, but if Gary Oldman could do it, who couldn't? Right? So
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Based on current activity, Peter Dinklage would not have allowed
I don't think that would work. Yeah,
a regular sized adult playing that role.
You mentioned Peter Billingsley from A Christmas Story. He plays the character Ming Ming. Of course, Ming Ming, Mike. Him and Favreau are buddies, and they kind of grew up together. And he's a producer of this film. So there you go.
And I'm ashamed I didn't mention him earlier, but Artie Lang.
Yes, Artie Lang,
famous stand-up comedian, Howard Stern, kind of standby guy and drug user. Plays Santa Claus, amazingly enough, in this, or the gimbal.
He's not Santa.
He's not Santa. You're not Santa.
You stink like beef and cheese. You don't smell like Santa.
I love that.
Yeah, so a couple other notes about the movie. Will Ferrell spent most of it nauseated and sick. A lot of vomiting. He had a lot of headaches of all the sugar. The numerous takes of, oh
wow,
several scenes here where he's eating nothing but candy and syrup.
You like sugar, huh?
Is there sugar in syrup?
Yes.
Then yes.
That took a physical toll on him to some degree.
That's funny.
The wardrobe, you recognize the design of the wardrobe and all that. It's really fashioned after Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the stop-motion Rankin Bass, even down to the colors of Buddy's costume, which I thought was cool. Gave it that old school nostalgia feel. Their apartment, Roy Hobbs' apartment in Manhattan, that's the same apartment that they shot Dana in Ghostbusters. That was her apartment.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
Zool. Zool was there.
Yeah, there is no Dana. Sorry, it's only Zool.
There.
Most of the shots were done in Vancouver in Canada, but some of the they shot in New York for about 3 or 4 days, and that's where you get most of the iconic imagery here. And that was all really kind of guerrilla type filmmaking. They just kind of went out and shot. Remember that Tootsie kind of shot where he's walking down the New York streets. That was completely unscripted. They just let the cameras roll, and there's some other things we'll get to kind of get those in during the course of the film. So this movie is currently streaming on Hulu and Max. If you're interested in turning off this dumb podcast and actually watching the real thing, we encourage you to do that now.
It's too bad. They didn't have a scene where Buddy the Elf could like almost get hit by a taxi and go, "Hey, I'm walking here.
I'm walking here." All right, so let's talk a little about 2003. So as our Grumpy Nation will attest to, we're not big fans of anything after 2000. For the most part, we think pop culture kind of took a dive. But let's see if we can go through some of the data here and see what the state of pop culture was and see if they can prove us wrong. So, Mike, this came out on 11/7, November 7th, as we mentioned, along with another, I guess, iconic Christmas movie at this point, Love Actually.
Oh, wow.
Came out on the same weekend. 2 days earlier, you had The Matrix Revolutions, or as I like to call it, The Matrix Revolting. That was in the theaters at the same time. And then
Was that
next
the
week,
second or third one? That was the third one, wasn't it?
I think
Reloaded was
the
always get
second
those
one.
confused. I mean, there's such
Yeah.
bad titles. Reloaded and Revolutions. I can't in my mind compartmentalize them in the second or third So
How about regurgitating, repulsive,
Resurgence? How about that one?
That's a good one.
That was used.
And then you had the week after this, you had Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah.
Starring Commandant Javert himself.
What's that? Oh, if you know his number from from Les Miserables, I'm gonna
56301.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Oh, Broadway nerd.
Yeah. So this was actually a pretty big hit. It ended up being the 7th ranked movie in the calendar year 2003. Number 1 was Finding Nemo. Number 2 was Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. That's the one where there's something that happens on the sea. Remember that one, Mike?
Pearl. Yeah, involves
some on the water. Yeah.
Someone.
The Matrix, as we mentioned, was 3rd, and Return of the King was 4th, even though it only had 1 month in that year. It still outranked a lot of. But this came in 7th. On the TV, we were watching CSI ... We were just watching all the CSI shows.
Wait a minute. Are we almost at the 20th anniversary? Well, we've probably just are right on the cusp. We're just past the 20th anniversary of Return of the King, didn't we?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, we saw that. We sent pictures to our friend Molly and rubbed it in.
Oh, yeah. Rubbed it in her face.
With our sweet tart ropes. Alaska's favorite movie candy. We're such jerks. Molly, we apologize for that. That was not cool. Also on the TV, we were watching American Idol because that's so great. Which I realized, Mike, we were talking about the Gong Show a few shows back. That's what American Idol is now.
That's what it should have been.
Iteration of the Gong Show. We were watching Friends, of course, and we were watching Apprentice, starring a Florida man at some point.
Wow, Apprentice.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, Mike, you might want to, if you're drinking something, you might want to slow it down to avoid a spit take. I'm going to talk about the pop music here.
Oh, boy.
And I just want you to kind of hold in. So, ready to go? So, these are the songs that were on the top 20 pop charts when this movie came out.
Wow. Okay.
We got Sugar Sugar. That's Baby Bash featuring Frankie J. Why Don't You and I? That was Santana featuring Chad Kroeger from Nickelback.
Oh yeah, that's when Santana was like doing his who was the it was like the Frank Sinatra album where he came up with a duet with everybody, and Santana did the same thing. He did something with like the Rob Thomas
to pitch his clothing line. All right, so you had Me Against the Music. That was Britney featuring Madonna.
Oh, okay.
You had Holiday Inn. That was Chingy, Mike, featuring Ludacris and featuring Snoop Dogg.
Did that have anything to do with the Bing Crosby, Donald O'Connor classic movie?
Blasphemy to suggest that. Another great song was Get Low. That was Little John featuring the Yin Yang Twins. Yin Yang Twins, Mike. And you had Frontin'. That was Ferrel featuring Jay-Z. And you had Peanut Butter featuring Jelly. You had Sodom featuring Gomorrah, and so on and so on.
What was number one? I'm curious.
Sugar Sugar.
It was Sugar Sugar. Okay.
Yeah. So
wow.
I have never heard of any of these songs.
Frontin'.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but I don't feel bad about it one way or the other. To kind of cleanse the palate, there was some actual music from people that played guitars and made albums. The White Stripes, Seven Nation Army was on the charts as well, on the rock charts. You also had Times Like These by the Foo Fighters. And you had Go With the Flow with the Queens of the Stone Age. So there was some music there, but that wasn't played on commercial.
Kind of hidden, yeah.
So there you go. Have we done anything to justify our opinion on 2000s yet? Like, I don't think so.
No, sir. Like I said, it's been said probably a couple of times in this podcast before, but just take a minute, listen to the music from, say, 1980, then listen to music from 2000.
Yeah.
Then listen to music from 2000 and listen to music from 2020. You tell me the advance and what changed. What did you notice a certain change? Do you notice no change at all? Let me know.
Let us know in the comments. All right. So pop culture, not so much. Let's just talk about society, Mike.
Ah,
In the year 2003, when we started iTunes, which is probably the reason all these crappy songs are here because it discouraged the actual albums from being put out anymore.
yeah.
You could listen to a song for 13 seconds and decide it was good enough. You could pay 99 cents for it.
Oh,
Or
goodbye,
you-
Napster.
Yeah, there you go. The big Christmas items around the time of this movie were the superhero Barbie line, particularly Supergirl Barbie,
Wow.
and Batgirl Barbie. The Game Boy Advance was taking over the handheld gaming market, and then we had Yu-Gi-Oh! Made its presence on the market, Mike. Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yes.
Whatever that
From
is, some
slightly
sort of
familiar.
anime that we don't understand, but I'm sure
It is. It is.
the girls at Secondhand Nostalgia could probably give us a 2-hour dissertation on all of that. So
Yes, they could. Trust me.
this is the first year the term newbie was put into the
Oh,
English
wow.
language, so that's good. This is the first year of Skype, the video communication service that kept families together and confused the elderly. So
Still, still 20 years later.
yeah, Tesla started, as did LinkedIn and
Oh,
Apple's
wow.
web browser Safari, all started in 2003. We lost some big hitters this year, Mike. We lost Mr. Rogers, Jack Ritter, John Ritter, Johnny Cash, Katharine
Oh,
Hepburn,
wow.
and Gregory Peck.
See, I thought John Ritter died in 2004, but I realized it was all a misunderstanding.
See, I see what you did there with the thing in the.
Too early.
But the biggest loss here, of course, was South Carolina Senator Strom Thurmond, Mike.
Oh, wow.
From our own state here, 100 years old, was in the Senate. He was more of a mascot than a senator, I think.
Yeah, in his later years, we just called him Carrot Top, and
he kind of looked like Grandpa from Texas Chainsaw Massacre at that point.
a little bit. Yeah,
He's
like one of those. And some people in other regions of the country may not be understand this, but the Apple dolls we used to make when we were kids.
Shrunken Applehead dolls. Yeah.
Yeah, as after a few days, that was Strom in his last 10 years.
Yeah, he was a real hero. He's famously known for the longest filibuster in Senate history. He spent 24 hours and 18 minutes arguing vehemently against the Civil Rights Bill. But in the irony department, he fathered 2 illegitimate children with his African American housekeeper. So there you go.
Yes.
I love it.
And he has half the buildings that seem like are named after him or something.
And we drive on the Strom Thurmond Highway every day down here in the Carolinas. So they were so impressed by that, they named a highway after him down here. So there you go. So let's talk about something festive.
Yay.
We took a turn there, Mike. Let's try to reel it back. So this is a pretty well beloved holiday movie. We didn't want to get too sappy and too old with our picks. We certainly didn't want to get anything new, but we decided we want to do a real Christmas movie, and this kind of checked most of the boxes for us. So it's a happy little movie, and I think we should just kind of go through it. So, Mike, are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, hit the button. So our movie kind of opens up with in an orphanage, and we see little Buddy as a baby kind of crawling into Santa's sack. Santa's played by Ed Asner here.
I need some more detail now.
Yeah, nothing gets by Santa. He
Yes.
he did notice a baby climbing in his bag of toys. He gets brought all the way back to the North Pole with all the elves, and then he gets exposed. He comes out of the bag, and Santa doesn't know what to do with his new baby. So one of the elves in the shop, one of the head toy makers, played by Bob Newhart, says he would take him in because he always meant to start a family, but he was always too busy making toys. So the first act of the movie is just really kind of this silly fish out of water thing where they really kind of exemplifies the contrast in Buddy compared to the other elves. He's 50 times larger. He doesn't have the manual dexterity to build toys, so he's really kind of struggling in his environment. But he doesn't know any better. He just thinks he's an elf. And I love some of the still frames here, Mike. He gets to change the light bulbs for everybody. That's one of his special skills.
Change the batteries in the smoke detector?
Sure did. Triple A's.
And he sings a lower octave in the choir, and
Oh,
that picture of him like dominating the basketball team. That's great. Yeah.
And the picture in this class picture where you can't see his head.
Yeah, he's out of frame completely. So he's kind of oblivious to his surroundings and his situation until he's working in the toy shop one day and he can't keep up because his like he doesn't have the skill set that the elves have, and he got behind on his Etch a Sketch production, and he overhears his boss Ming Ming talking to another employee about how inadequate he is and trying to protect his feelings. He says, "Well, if he hasn't figured out he's a human by now, he never will." And he overhears that, and that really kind of throws him for a loop. And he runs home to talk to Papa Newhart, and he explains to him his story and how he came to be with the elves. And he explains the story about his father, who lives in New York. And, Buddy's got the curiosity. He wants to go visit his real father, and Papa Elf reluctantly lets him go, giving a snow globe, Empire State Building, as a map. So he walks the 3,600 miles from the North Pole to New York.
Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad.
Kind of like Superman did in Superman 2, when you think about it.
Yeah. He didn't get to go to the diner, though, and get bullied by a trucker.
Yeah. But he gets all the way to the Lincoln Tunnel, and apparently they shot this, again, like I mentioned, with kind of no permit, like kind of guerrilla style. And obviously a 6'4" elf in green and yellow costume caused a few fender benders. That there were some real accidents as a result of him filming there.
Oh my gosh!
There's this fantastic montage when he gets in New York. You get the Louis Primus song "Pennies from Heaven," and he's just overwhelmed with the sights and sounds. It's really kind of a love letter to New York. The scene where he thinks of Santa Claus, the elderly gentleman in the red tracksuit, that was not a plant. That was a real New Yorker that just happened to be in that garb, and they used that for that shot. And that's kind of like a legendary scene. He kind of captures his naivete and how much fun he finds New York, and he finally comes across the Empire State Building and kind of tries to go inside and deliver they think he's there for a singing telegram, and he meets James Caan and very awkwardly reveals that he's his son. And that it doesn't go well, and he throws him out. And the security guards, the taller security guard that escorts him out after that is Will Ferrell's brother in real life. Just in case you're curious. They tell him to go to Gimbel's, given the way he's dressed, as a joke, and he actually goes to Gimbel's, which I think is supposed to be Macy's, but they use Gimbel's in this movie.
Well, it's a callback to Miracle on 42nd Street.
Yeah,
which I think is really cool. They actually
had the old Gimbel sign too, which I thought was really great. So he's going into the Christmas department, and he just randomly gets picked on by the manager, and says because he sees him in that garb, he thinks he works for them. And the Gimbel's manager, his name tag says Wanda. Did you notice that, Mike?
No, I didn't see that. Interesting.
So here's some more behind the scenes stuff. So that role was originally cast for Wanda Sykes, but she got sick and had to drop out. So they hired this guy at the last minute, and he thought it would be funnier just to keep her Wanda name tag on. So if next time you watch that, that's an Easter egg for you. But he thinks he's working there, so he puts him to work decorating the store. He gets introduced to Jovi here. Jovi's played by the annoyingly cute Zoey Deschanel as a blonde, and with no bangs here, no bangs.
That's right. No bangs.
Just falls in love with her immediately. He decorates the store for Santa.
Santa's coming to town! Santa! Oh my God! Santa here? I know him.
Because Santa's coming the next day, and the aforementioned Artie Lang plays the Santa here. And what really puts him on the outs with Gimbel's is he's too naive to know that he's not the real Santa Claus. And Buddy starts a bit of a scene. he tells kids not to talk to him because he sits on a throne of lies, and he smells like beef and cheese. He doesn't like the fact that he's usurping Santa's position, and they end up getting this wonderful fight. And again, Mike, we've got to talk about stuntman and wigs here again. This is a horrendously bad stunt montage. Both stuntmen look nothing like the original actors, but hey, who cares?
Hey, with this kind, I give these kind of movies a pass when it's already kind of You're just, when you see a guy trucked across the North American continent 3,600 miles without any kind of
not so much the coat
sustenance. You kind of you let a wig go by.
So this incident lands Buddy in jail, and he calls his new father as a contact, get out of jail. And James Caan is kind of obviously gobsmacked about the situation. He ends up going to a doctor to see if this is real, and they get a genetic test on him, and turns out he's real. What I love this scene where Buddy's sitting in the table and he's like fidgeting and rolling around, and he keeps asking random questions like why am I sitting on paper?
Why am I sitting on paper?
Because it's sanitary for the other patients. Now sit still.
I don't know if you notice, but James Caan, the notoriously intimidating, gruff actor, he actually breaks in the scene. If you notice that when Will Ferrell starts eating the cotton balls, they were actually made out of cotton candy. That was not in the script, but you actually see James Caan kind of turn away from the cameras to not spoil the take. But
it ends up being almost like a Saturday Night Live skit.
Yeah, so the doctor suggests that he take Buddy home to meet the family, and he thinks that might have this like childlike state of progression. He assumes he's in that kind of snap. So Buddy comes home to the family, and he meets James Caan's wife, Mary Steenburgen, and their young son. Of course, he wants nothing to do with them. And the second act is kind of like the awkwardness of them kind of bonding together. He meets Michael coming home from school, and Michael wants nothing to do with him. He kind of chases him down the street, and they ended up getting like in a snowball fight with these bullies. Buddy shows his true character and like defends him, and they had a wonderful snowball fight. Any Christmas movie where kids intentionally get hurt, I'm all about it. But that was that, and they kind of like grow this relationship, and they really bond. And Michael helps him overcome his fear of asking Jovi out, so you get this romance with those two. And everything's going swimmingly until James Caan has Buddy at work, and he's a publisher, and his last book tanked, and they call in a consultant to get a pitch because they've got to produce a new pitch by Christmas Eve, or the company's going to go under. And the consultant is played by Peter Dinklage, who is obviously a lesser stature. And Buddy kind of bursts into the meeting and realizes that he confuses Peter Dinklage as an elf very innocently, but it doesn't go very well, and he ends up getting beat up by Peter Dinklage. And then he kind of ultimately ruins James Caan's chances to keep his business going. So he's ostracized, he's kicked out. And when Caan does that, he kind of upsets the entire family. And then, the third act is this Buddy kind of wandering aimlessly in the streets of New York. And it's Christmas Eve, and Santa Claus is coming in, and he crashes in Central Park. It got a little off the rails here, Mike, I think, at the end. But Santa's sleigh runs on Christmas spirit, and people don't have it, so he crashed in Central Park. And he comes across Buddy, and he asks Buddy to fix his sleigh, and kind of gives him the confidence he needs. And they're getting chased by the Central Park Rangers, and this is his mad dash to get Santa back in the air and save Christmas. And he ultimately ends up saving it, and Jovi does her part. She sings in Central Park to boost everybody's spirits, and they've all got their little Santa suits on, and the Claus-O-meter is just about there. And then finally James Caan relents, and he gets in and starts singing it too. And as he sings, Claus-O-meter hits 100, and Santa's sleigh flies over him, and Christmas is saved. And the end. So yeah, that was a very rough shot thing, but we don't want to talk about Christmas movies too much this year. So there you go. But it was a sweet little movie. It was hard to make fun of, and that's why our show's probably going to be kind of dull, because we excel at making fun of things. Our hearts weren't in this one, quite frankly.
Well, they grew 10 times after watching this. So,
this is true, Mike. So let's talk a little bit about awards and accolades, then we'll kind of get into our take on the movie. So this made a huge impact at the box office in the opening weekend, $32 million. Ended up doing $178 million domestically and another $227 million worldwide.
Wow.
It didn't receive any Academy Award nominations or any real big awards. It was converted to a musical in 2010. It ran for 2 holiday seasons on Broadway, and then it's kind of toured the off-Broadway circuit ever since. I saw it. It's pretty good. Relatively faithful to the movie. It was not. I'm sorry, Mike. I take that back. It was nominated for a 2004 MTV Movie Award for Best Comedic Performance.
Of course.
And it lost to Jack Black, of all people, Mike, in School of Rock.
Oh.
Which if I had to say I could tolerate Jack Black in anything, it's probably that. It wasn't too terrible, but yeah. So there you go. Will Ferrell turned down $29 million to reprise his role in a sequel.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
2014. He just didn't want anything to do with it.
I respect that.
I do.
immensely, especially in the days of Hollywood now, where everything's
Yeah.
just, a reimagination.
And he did he did a couple sequels like with Ron Burgundy. He played that role a couple
Yeah.
times, so he actually did have a conscious choice not to do that. And good for him. So I don't think Elf 2 could possibly be good, right?
No,
No.
it'd be in the same category as Land of the Lost, most likely.
Oh yeah, there you go. So Mike, let's talk about our grumpy meter, and then we can move on to other fun Christmas talk. So why don't you just kind of give us a review of the first time you saw it, and a comparative analysis to your most recent watch, and tell me if anything has changed.
Oh wow! If my grumpy meter would be like the Spirit of Christmas meter in the sleigh in this one. It's it is what it is. You can't help but watch. I remember I begrudgingly watched this about 5 or 6 years ago. My wife made me watch it and told me how good it was, and I was like, "Oh, sure, whatever," because I don't like Christmas movies. Wow, I really do sound like a grouch. But after watching,
Happy holidays, everybody.
after watching it, like I said, that my Spirit of Christmas meter went up to 100, and it was really enjoyable. It had all the tropes of a Christmas movie, like some of the callbacks, like the Rankin and Bass classics, like you said, and the using the Miracle on 42nd Street kind of setting of Gimbals, having that the Ebenezer Scrooge character. It just you can't help but like it, and it's. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like the popularity of this movie has grown every year, and it's almost probably going to overtake like Christmas Story as far as like popularity in the mainstream.
I was going to make that same point. It's on that same trajectory,
Yeah, it has the merchandise I see for it, and just the Christmas shows I work at, I see more probably Buddy the Elf shirts than I do any other Christmas thing related, and maybe Grinch is a close second, but he's getting up there.
Yeah. I'm kind of the same way, Mike. I saw this a couple of years after it came out on DVD, and I watched it and I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny, but I don't remember like it having any resonance or think that I don't think this was anything that was sustained for this long. But the joke's on me because I've watched this thing historically every year, and we don't have a lot of traditions in my little household, but one of them is that Thanksgiving night after we eat, we watch this movie to kind of start our own little holiday kick. And I hate to say it out loud, but every year I get older, I get a little more sappy and a little more sentimental and appreciate these things more. When they sing Santa Claus is coming to town, I feel some sort of emotional thing in my stomach about it.
Oh wow!
I'm just triggered by those things in my life. I don't know why.
Wow.
I'm just getting soft. But I realize it's just a sweet movie. I think a lot of that's got to do with Ferrell's performance. He never breaks character or shifts, and he always keeps that innocent naivete, but good natured thing about it. Even when he's like at his lowest point. This role could be misconstrued a lot of ways. It could have been botched. A lot of the Broadway shows I've seen of it had that thing where Buddy's not likable because he's kind of all over the map emotionally. He doesn't have
there's too many extremes.
The spirit of Ferrel, I guess, in it, but it's just one of those movies that it's my favorite day of the year is Thanksgiving, and it's part of that day, and it's part of the whole construct of it, and it's like I said. Getting old, getting soft. These things mean more to me for some reason now, but just a fantastic movie. And to see that relationship with Jovi and, kissing at the Rockefeller Center. And I think New York really sells this movie too. I think this was shot in the movie
helps
wouldn't be as
lot.
good. Just those iconic Christmas scenes and themes. It's just fantastic. So, hey, we can't complain, guys. It stumped us. So there you go. So, like I said, so we're talking about Christmas, and this is, we decided for our big Christmas present to you, we'd supersize our segment of "You Just Made the List, Pal." So we thought we'd talk about two of our favorite things about Christmas. That's toys and candy. So, Mike, let's do two lists this time. We got a little bit of time to spare, so I think it's so important to let everybody know our favorite Christmas gifts we ever got as a kid. We want to see if generationally if those kind of match up with our listening audience. So, Mike, why don't we do three? Maybe an honorable mention, but let's rattle off some of the greatest Christmas gifts you've ever got as a kid.
Okay, Christmas gifts were mainly generated from the Sears catalog and the JCPenney catalog for me. You have to remember, I came from a town where we were a little too small to have our own toy store, and
Yeah.
the only stores we could really go to see toys were Kmart and Walmart, which showed up about 81, 82 to Rock Hill, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So when the catalogs came around October, sometimes maybe early November, oh my gosh, it was JCPenney. You got to remember JCPenney and Sears at the time. You would go to those stores, and when you're actually there, you wouldn't see toys. You would see clothes. You would see other crap you didn't want, like Craftsman tools.
Boring.
There were no, and it's not.
There's no toy department. Yeah.
There was no. It was like sporting goods, but there was nothing related to toys. But these catalogs, somehow, you go to the back of them, and like a whole 20 pages was devoted to these toys for girls, for boys, all kinds of things that you would never even think of seeing. And
yeah,
if you had been nice that year, not naughty, you could tell your parents, "Hey, I want this," and they even called it the wish book.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
You remember it was called the Christmas wish book, and you could go through. I would. Oh, that thing was so dog-eared. By the time like late November came, there were so many pages I had like cornered and like circled and look at constantly. Especially like NFL stuff. Like NFL titles.
That's so. You're just triggering all these memories. I forgot all about that. My grandma would make the mistake of like leaving the Sears catalog out for all her grandkids, and she wanted them to like circle what they wanted. I remember like the Sears catalog. Remember how Sears could only sell like the knockoffs of it? They had like an Atari system was an Atari, and like the games were like instead of Asteroids, it was like Astro Rock or instead of Missile Command, it was Missile Charge or something. Yeah, but I remember all of us grandkids just reduced that catalog to rubble. We just it just shredded by the end of the year.
Oh
wow,
yeah,
I forgot all about that. That's so cool.
That I said, that was my outlet. There was no place we could really go to like. Yeah. It wasn't a Gimbals or toy. Yeah. Delightful little Lionel Toy Warehouse or place I could go to. Or there wasn't a Toys R Us either.
So what'd you end up scoring?
Well, one of my favorite gifts of all time was I followed the NFL religiously as a kid, and if you ever went to the grocery store, you could put in a quarter and you would get a plastic helmet. If you were lucky enough to see one of the machines.
The gumball helmets.
Yes. And they're hard to find now. They still sell them occasionally, but they were everywhere at grocery stores. And for a quarter, you could get a helmet. And more often than not, there were 28 teams. There was always one I couldn't get, and it was the Cincinnati Bengals. I will always remember this. But in the toy catalog, you could get all 28 helmets along with these goalposts, and you could set the helmets on the side of each goalpost. Yeah. And it would be based on where they were in the conference, and you could rotate the helmets around.
Sport, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. And that was that's the first gift that always comes to mind. I think I got it when I was 12 years old.
That's fantastic.
It was all 28 helmets along with the goalpost, and I still have those. So there you go.
That's great. Well, this was like the third one on my list, but I'm just going to parlay because we're already on the subject here. And I hope I don't steal one of yours, Mike. But
no.
Remember the electronic football?
Oh yeah, that was
whereas now kids play Madden 23, Madden 24, whatever, just hyper realistic gaming simulation NFL thing. What we had was a sheet metal with a vibrator on the bottom of it. and I'll never forget like the sound it made. It was horrible. But the concept was you had these little like cork players that you would line up on the field, and then when you had like your offense and defense set up, you'd hit the start button, and the vibrator on the bottom would oscillate, and it would vibrate the sheet metal top that looked like painted like a green field, and these guys just kind of vibrate all over the place, and they would always just go the wrong way most of the time, or just kind of converge.
They would, and then you had one player that was supposed to throw a little foam football, but
a little
never went the right direction.
Never worked.
It
This
didn't.
is so horrible, but you know what? If I had one of those now, I'd still be playing with it. So
Yeah.
that's mine. That's the NFL electronic football.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I have a whole tackle box full of little plastic men from that I got. I got the whole NFC Central and the NFC West.
What are we doing here? I'm coming over. Let's play.
I still have the little stands. But the problem is, I somehow my mom threw away my field, which was the
you gotta have that.
I got that's what I got to get off Amazon or eBay or somewhere. But anyway,
Okay.
I digress.
All right, so let's go to your second pick, Mike.
My other second pick is related to this is really obscure because a lot of people will get it confused with like the I can't even remember the time. They were kind of like if somebody remembers this, I'm going to assume they do. I remember probably James up there in New York would know what I'm talking about. They're called Micronauts. They were basically like GI Joes for space, and they were the one thing I could get at Kmart or at Richway, which was a store up in Charlotte. Yeah. But I was collecting Micronauts. But the big prize for me was it was this big set. It was called Micronaut City, and it came with little plastic things and all these little pegs you can make it, and all your Micronauts could have little houses in there. And this was like I said, it's like GI Joe, so this was more like a base, but you can make it what you want in your mind, which is the best part. It was like Tinker Toys for but it was plastic, and this set was amazing. And again, another wish list item from my catalog, and it was Micronauts. They always broke. Their arms and their legs always broke at the elbow and the knee, and that was the most frustrating thing about those cheap little pieces of plastic. And they had silver heads, and the heads would always rub off.
Yeah, the veneer would come off. Yeah.
But it was great.
Well, so that's a great one. So
Micronauts.
So speaking of bases, one of my favorite gifts I ever got was I think it was circa 1980. I think it was called the Battle of Navarone Army playset.
Oh, I had that.
So of course, it's not really PC anymore to talk about Army Men. You don't want your kids being these little fascists, but there was a time in American culture where kids loved to play Army Men, and you had the classic, green, about 12 different figures in various poses for the GI, right? And then you had the pale gray German soldiers that were had different figures and stuff like that. But this particular one featured a large kind of gray mountain that was cut in cross section, so it kind of looked like the poop emoji now, but the back had like levels and stuff, and they had like guns sticking out of the mountain, and I would spend hours and hours setting up these Army Men. It was just I don't know why that was fun, but I would still do this to this day. If I had that set, I'd probably clear out the kitchen table and just hey honey, get rid of this china. I need to put up my Army Men.
I know. I want to do that right now.
Hours and hours playing with that, and just fantastic. So that's my second one, the Battle of Navarone Army playset from 1980.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, I don't have the Navarone. I don't have the Hill anymore, but I have all the men in a box at my parents' house. So that's interesting. I might have to go back because I would do the same thing you did. I would set them up and throw like a rubber ball, and I'd be behind one line, throw the ball, and then I'd go around the other side, throw the ball, and try to knock out some guys. There's a kill.
I would repurpose other classic toys. Like I would use like the track from Hot Wheels and marbles, and I would use that as like a rolling cannon and eviscerate the forces from the flank. All right, so what's your last pick? Maybe an honorable mention.
Honorable mention would be a Shogun Warrior, which with these big. They were about 3 feet tall or so, and they would. Mazinga was my favorite because he would actually shoot bullets from his hand, and he had a little plane that came out of his head. It was kind of like, it's like a kaiju kind of.
Yeah, my wife actually had the Godzilla variant of that, and that's probably the coolest thing about her.
I still have my Mazinga. He's in my closet right now. So he's missing a bullet. I think he's missing a bullet, but he has both of his swords, so he's ready to go.
If they got both of his rocket fists and like the little red things, they're those are so great. Giant toys.
That's right.
Giant toys. Those are like 3 feet tall.
Yeah, it was awesome. And but my third choice would be going a little further back as far as my age, but it was you said Hot Wheels. This was a Hot Wheels set that it was a whole track, like an oval, basic oval, but it had a little buttons on the side where you could press it and it would like kind of push the car forward, and it was banked enough so that it would go around the lap. If you did it right, it would go all the way around the track, and then you could push the button again, it would keep going. Yeah. And you would just have to time. You have to time it when you hit the little press the button. But you could actually do a real race if you had two cars next to each other. And my goodness, you would think it would occupy your time for about 5 seconds, but no.
Were you Cole Trickle or Rusty Wheeler?
What was Aldo? What was the
Aldo Benedetti? Come on,
there you go, Aldo Benedetti. Yes, I was Aldo Benedetti and Goggles Faisano. But yeah. Those
are great. Yeah,
I loved. I was a Matchbox guy, but I did delve into Hot Wheels occasionally. So there you go.
All right, so my next one is a lot of fun too. Honorable mention at least. Do you remember the Stretch Armstrong?
Oh yeah,
toys. So I had a weird variant. It was called the Stretch X-Ray, and he was kind of like he kind of looked like the aliens from This Island Earth. He was like. He had this like giant head that but you could see through him. You could see like his gross inner anatomy, and like these things, they were made out of latex rubber, and they're kind of filled with this like jelly corn syrup on the inside, and they could stretch like
something weird.
They could stretch like 3 times their normal size, and it's really kind of an unsafe toy because it was essentially just a catapult. But just stretching a toy was fun when I was 8 years old, but I remember I was so sad because I actually tore him, and all that goo started to come out, and my mom took it away from me.
Oh my gosh!
Sick.
Yeah,
that was one of my favorite ones. But of course, because of the nature of my nerdness and my pop culture, the greatest Christmas gift I think I ever got was the 1978 Death Star space station.
From
Kenner. Again, it's kind of similar to the Neverone set, but it was like a cross section of the Death Star. And it had four layers on, and the bottom had the trash compactor. You remember that?
Yes.
And it had like actual knobs you could turn, and the walls would compress. They had like the little plastic monster in there, and they had like foam pieces for trash. Hours and hours. Just a great gift. Just to see that big box under the tree and just that first tear and see that Kenner Star Wars logo, was like, yeah, that was as good as it got. So there
awesome.
There you go. Wow, we are sappy and we are nerds.
I know. There's so many damn toys that we could talk about.
And it's so funny because I don't think either one of us have outgrown any of the things we talked about on either person's list.
No, I mean that's what's so weird. I'm 53 years old, but I want to play with Army Men all of a sudden.
That's as soon as we get done. Where's this cancel button? Where's that? I gotta order these on eBay. All right. So the other great thing about Christmas is the candy. So you can get candy all year round, but Christmas candy is seasonal and unique, and makes it a little more special. So let's just kind of wrap up real quick, Mike. Same kind of concept. Let's kind of go through and talk about those favorite Christmas candies we had, and knock out a few, and then maybe an honorable mention as well. So you're up first.
I'll tell you what. Let's do this a little differently. I'll go ahead and just say mine, and then you can do yours. All right. First one for me and most memorable probably would be the Lifesaver books, which I haven't seen for years, but they were literally like a little cardboard box.
The storybook, Lifesaver storybooks,
It was about a 5x7 size, and you would open it up, and there was just rolls of Lifesavers on one side, and then like an actual Christmas story on the left side. But and each one was a different flavor Lifesaver, and if you were lucky enough, you would get like all 4 or 5 of the rolls would be different. But trust me, if I saw one of those at the store, I'd grab it.
I looked them up because they're on my list too. They have them, but they're only just the 5 flavor ones.
Of course, that's lame. Yeah. The M&M candies that came in a plastic candy cane. For some reason, I remember those vividly.
Why did those taste better?
I don't know. It was. It seemed like they stayed fresher for some reason too. But they had the red plastic little crook at the top, and then this clear tube, and all the M&Ms would be in there. And just, I know there were some bastard versions later with like Reese's Pieces and other cheap stuff, but no, this was the original
knockoffs. Yeah.
Okay. The box of Thin Mints. There were like these little candies that had this creamy centers.
Andes Mints.
Andy's did them. Yeah, this was also, you would see like just knockoff versions that were like in long boxes, which is what I got for like, $1 at the drugstore. But all-time favorite candy, and it's not just for Christmas, but for Southerners, it's probably more known here. But fudge, classic homemade fudge from my mom or from my mother-in-law with pecans or walnuts in it. Oh,
yeah.
You can't beat that, because seems like my mom and other mothers around the neighborhood, that's the only time of year they would break out all the butter and sugar and make this this high caloric fudge, and it's just still today they still they'll still make it, but only at Christmas time, and that's what, to me, it's just the quintessential Christmas candy.
What you get for Christmas, Mike? Diabetes.
Yes. Get more, please.
All right, those are great, man. So I shared the Lifesavers one as well, but I would only add the takeaway there. The chase piece was the butter rum Lifesavers.
Oh yeah,
you get the whole run, and they had like the all pineapple one. If you could get those in your stocking, that was it. So the next one on my list was Cut Rock candy. I've always loved Cut Rock candy. They got the little shapes on the inside. They got the pink ones with the little flower, and the green ones with the little present on the inside. And those are always the candies that were in your grandma's candy dish that you never wanted. But as I've gone older, I've chased these things to the ends of the earth every time of the year to find these things. When I find them, I buy them by the pound and just kind of enjoy it for the entire season. Chocolate covered cherries. I think those are my favorite until I eat one. I always want them until I eat that first one, and they're so rich and disgusting, and I usually just throw the other 8 away. But those are always my favorite around this time of year. And there's one kind of hyper specific thing that's really super regional. I grew up in a small town just outside of Chicago called Braidwood, and they were famous for coal mines, strip mining, and they had originated this candy specifically in Braidwood, Illinois. It was called G Shaft candy. It was named after the mine, the G mine shaft, and it was made by the miners' wives to help subsidize their income and stuff like that. But it was a brown hard candy, kind of looked like brown glass. It was like a stick, and it had like 3 white stripes on top of it, and it had this odd, unique flavor combination of like anise and peppermint. It was revolting as a kid, because anise, one of the worst, unfortunately named flavors of all time. Yeah. Anise. What's it taste like? Anise. But as this weird blend of anise and peppermint, it was kind of like the equivalent of like Jägermeister now. It kind of tasted like that. But of course, since I've grown older and got farther away from it, my memories have taken over, and it got me to the point where I look for these things like an obsession. Occasionally you can find them on Etsy or you can get them in special delivery, but this is very unique hard candy that you can only get in mid-central Illinois during the holidays. But again, I miss it. I thought it's weird, but it that smell and that taste reminds me of what I grew up with, and so there you go. So
gotcha.
Yeah,
that's
hard
cool.
Candies. Yeah. Okay, well, I think we're probably done with Christmas now, Mike. We can get on to our regular grumpy selves. I think we saved our ghost of Christmas present or future. We're probably good for the next year at least. So we want to thank everybody for listening this year, and we hope you guys have a great holiday as well. And hope we use this episode to kick off your similar discussions with your own family about how much fun, how much better it was when we were kids in the 70s. But we want to thank everybody for listening. If you like what you heard, you can check out more information about our show at our social media page. That's at Grumpy Nostalgia on Instagram. You can also send us an email if you choose to. We're at nostalgiagrumps@gmail.com. We started a YouTube channel. If you didn't hear the episode last week, we launched a show. We've got another one in development. We hope to get it posted on the page here in a couple of days. So if you're curious to see what we really look like, and you can bear that, check out Grumpy Nostalgia on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Help get our fan base there. We should have another episode up in a couple of weeks, and we're really excited about it. We're going to put Die Hard up next, so just tell your friends. So you can check us out there. I want to give a special shout out to a couple podcasts that have been following us. Just gentlemen from the UK. They're called Podcorn Kernels. They have a film podcast that I think is particularly great. They were kind enough to put us in a reel and advertise our show, and
wow.
we gave them a listen, and they're fantastic. They're much smarter than us. Their takes are much more astute, much more clever. I really enjoyed them. We want to thank those guys for putting the word out and encouraging their subscribers to link to us. And so Harry and Adam across the pond, guys, thank you very much, and we will continue to listen.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to throw the weight of our audience your way, so you should have 1 or 2 more subscribers any day.
Yay.
All right, so Mike, that's going to kind of wrap it up. Anything else you want to say to our grumpy nation before we head out for the holidays here?
Yeah, let's just let's know that you got spunk, and you know what? I hate spunk.
That's because you're a cotton-headed ninny muggins, Mike. All right, so for Mike James, this is Justin, and we want to wish you guys the best, and we will see you again next time.
I just like to smile. Smiling's my favorite.